George here, and welcome to Tales from Target Suite, where once again I'll share my perspective on guns and shooting, and we'll have an adventure or two that will make even a grown man smile. And it is good to have a video for you again. I've got two great guns here, and we're going to use both of these 357 Magnum carbines to take a look at what might be the best hunting ammo for 2024. But right now, I'm going to load up this Winchester 1892 and Moroku Winchester 1892, and we'll do some shooting. But while I load up, let's take a look at the factory ammo that we're going to cover today. I've got four premium loads and a less than premium load that we'll take a look at. And why am I doing another video on the 357 Magnum carbine? It's because I took this Winchester 1892 357 Magnum right over there on the back side of the levee. I snuck up over and I shot 3 hogs, 2 of them running, and with the 357 Magnum, this one right here. And so I was pretty impressed with the performance, and I thought we would once again visit the subject of 357 Magnum for medium game, hogs, and our southern deer here. And I've got 2 of them. One, talked about this one. This is the new Ruger made Marlin 1894. This one has an 18 and 5/8 inch barrel. Of course, this one has a 20-inch barrel. In the chronograph data that I'm going to blow across the screen here in a minute, I'm going to show you that there's hardly any difference whatsoever in velocity between the shorter barrel and the standard, what I'd call the standard barrel for the carbine. So we'll take a look at that. But right now, let me get loaded up and shoot these guns again. So I just ask that you grant me a little opportunity to do some shooting, because it is a ton of fun. And I think some of you guys and girls like to see these guns get fired. All right. Marlin, Ruger made Marlin 1892. I thought I was going to run them all, but I didn't. But 2 great guns. And why are they so revered by some? One is revered by some, and the other is revered by another. And a big part of it has to do with the configuration. Of course, with the 1892, whether it's the Rossi R92 or any of the Winchester variants from Winchester or some of the Italian makes, they all eject out the top, and so it makes it very difficult to post to have an optic on top of the gun. I actually have replaced the rear sight with a Marlin peep sight, and in full sunshine, it was very effective on those pigs that were all feeding right over here off the back of the pond dam. Wish I'd had more video of that, but I just haven't been in the video mode, as you can tell, for quite a while. But anyway, that sight was perfect for that scenario. In the dark woods, morning and evening shooting hours, down here, you really need a magnified optic that will give you that extra 15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes of shooting time. And the Marlin has a closed top. It ejects, it loads on the side just like the Winchester, and it ejects out the side as well. So it gives you a solid top to mount any kind of optic that you like right there. So that's the difference. Top eject, side eject, optic friendly, not optic friendly. So if you can have both, I highly recommend it. But if you can only have one and you think you might be hunting in the dark woods, then something like this Marlin 1894 would be really good. But let's talk about this ammo. just stop right there and I'll show you the ballistic gel setup. And you can see I've got all of those labeled across the front. I've got my ballistic gel stacked sideways to the bullet path, and that's so I can get 24 inches of depth. And I thought I would probably need it. Turns out I needed a little bit more. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But that's the ammo that we're going to shoot. And in fact, let me roll that chronograph data, or that ballistic gel data right now. And let's just see how those bullets did. And I'll step in right here and I'll just tell you that the 125 grain buffalo bore with the Barnes 125 grain XPBHP hollow point, it went through all 24 inches of gel. That's really unusual for a lighter bullet traveling very high velocity. You think it's going to penetrate less, but it went through all of those gel blocks. I did off-camera setup and I put 2 gel blocks end to end, and that's a 32-inch path, and I was able to capture that bullet at about 27 inches. And so at first I was going to discount this because of lack of penetration, but lo and behold, high velocity at 2150 and decent penetration. Interesting. Let's take a look at those bullets. I've got them all mounted on a stick. I thought it looked pretty good. You tell me in the comments. And let me know, by the way, in the comments what you think about the 357 Magnum for a deer, pig, and deer size animals, let's say up to 200 pounds or so. What do you think about that, about these two guns? And now let's take a look at those bullets. And here you can see them all compared side by side in the same order that I shot them, starting with the 125 grain buffalo bore on the left and ending with the 170 grain hammer down on the right. And I'll give you a close-up here and you can look at each one of those individually. So that 125 grain bullet, it had 90 grains of retained weight and expanded to, after it shed all those petals, it expanded to 0.42. That's what penetrated through the bulk of the ballistic gel. And then the 140 grain Barnes, it retained 129 grains. And what was left after shedding those petals was a half an inch, 0.50. And then we had the Barnes 180 original flat point. It had 156 out of 180 grains it retained, and it expanded to just over half an inch at 0.53. The American Eagle jacketed soft point, this is the one that surprised me. It retained 149 grains and it expanded to 0.60 inches with a really, really nice mushroom. That was pretty special. Now, that is listed by federal as a, by federal as a, I think that's federal, isn't it? Listed by federal as a target load. So I can't say anymore. I've never shot any game with that particular bullet, but it sure did hold up nicely through the ballistic gel. It got decent penetration at 20 inches and one heck of a large mushroom. So there you have it. And then the federal hammer down. It penetrated 21.5 inches. It retained 151 out of 170 grains, and it expanded to 0.52 inches. But if you look at that closely, you can see that the jacket is a little bit starting to separate from the core, so I'm assuming that's not a bonded bullet. I don't know that this is a bonded, that the American Eagle is a bonded bullet either, but it sure stayed together really well. So with that said, let's load up one each of these and shoot those melons. And I'm going to do it up close and personal so we get the most reaction. This is not about performance on an animal. This is about fun for YouTube. So let me load them up, and I'm going to use the Winchester 1892 for this. So let me get them loaded up. I will start loading with the hammer down, that'll be the last one I shoot, and the last one I load will be the 125 grain bullet from Buffalo Bore. So here we go. And another reason I wanted to get up close is because I wanted to be sure and try to get fairly centered on all of those melons. And with all these different loads, some of them do have a different point of impact. So we're going to get up there a little bit closer and we'll see what happens. Ha! Man, you gotta love that. If you don't like that, then there's just something not right. So what do I think? Man, I was prepared to really tout the strengths of this American Eagle ammo, but it is listed as a target load by Federal. So without me doing a whole bunch more testing and having some actual experience with some harder targets like bones in an animal, things like that, I couldn't recommend that. But man, it sure is inexpensive to shoot. In fact, I just ordered 8 ton of that for I'll call it range ammo. What about the Buffalo Bore or the Federal hammer down? Well, it didn't expand as well as some of the other loads, and the separation there, the cup and core separation, even though the bullet held together, it just caused me a little bit of concern. It's not a fatal flaw, but you let me know whether that's a cause of concern for you. What about the original 180 grain Barnes flat nose jacketed hollow point? Wow, that penetrated like a freight train, and it it expanded very well, held together very well. The Barnes 140 grain XPB HP solid copper bullet, that might be my favorite. It gave some pretty good expansion to depth, great penetration. It's expensive, but I'm kind of liking it. And then, of course, the 125 grain